Okay guys, now we're going to go ahead and get the procedure going to put our tire back on our wheel here. Again, I'm going to use the zip tie method. So I'm going to go ahead and start applying these zip ties to this wheel. And when you do this, again, we're just going to make it as tight as possible. And just make sure when you do get it cinched down, that the, I don't know what you call that. I'll just call it the nut. But just make sure this part is on the outside or somewhere around the top of the tire. That way it's not causing any interference on the inner side. And it'll also give us an area to cut off once we get the tire on. So I'm going to go ahead and start cinching these down all the way around the tire. It's the same procedure again. Just squeeze. You can kind of squeeze the middle and grab it with one hand and use your other hand to cinch this down. And again, essentially just make it as tight as you can with the inner two walls touching. And again, the more you put, the tighter it'll be, the easier it'll be to get on the wheel. So I'm going to again do them, 6-8 inches. I have plenty of zip ties. If you're limited, just do the best with what you got. Got all the zip ties. I'm just going back through and making sure they're all as tight as I can get them to make my life easier. Alright, so that's that. Now, how I want to do this, you can see this side's pretty flat. And then the other side is the side that's more crunched or rolled in. So it'll be easiest if I put it this way. So put this side on first. What you also want to pay attention to is there's an arrow that indicates direction of travel. So you're going to want to pay attention to that to make sure you have the rim or the wheel positioned correctly. So for me, direction of travel is this way. So I'm going to I know the sprocket goes on the left side of the bike. Direction of travel this way, sprocket would also be that way. So I'm going to apply it in this orientation. Again, I got my 2x4s. That way I can keep from damaging my wheel. And essentially this, how we just had set it. So direction of travel would be that way based on the sprocket. So now all we're going to do again, I'm going to go back. I got my soap and water mixture. So this side will be going on first. I'm also going to lube him up. The water helps, but the soap really comes in handy to give it just a little bit extra. Get our wheel all lubed up. Should be able to just kind of start. There we go. Once you get an edge to catch, you can kind of hold it with your knee, and the rest should just work its way around. If you get stuck, get you a little more lube. There we go. Start to go. Again, I'm just working it with my knee, my hand, and there we go. No tools required. Just a little leverage, a little patience. So now we got our wheel back in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and just cut off my zip ties. And then we'll pull the rest through. So you can if you have a little flathead screwdriver, you can get it to pry in there. I'm just going to use these treads to get a grip on it. So I have my indentions where my tread is. I can just get the tool under that. You can get a flathead and use it to pry up also. Alright, now you can see over here where I was pushing down, it's already starting to work its way out. You can kind of bounce it around and it should press out back to its normal form. Okay guys, so there we go, a little zip tie method, no other tools, and my wheel is back on, or my tire's back on the wheel. You can go ahead and clean up your wheel while you're at it. So one last step before we air this up, now I got to set the beads, and again I'll show you how to do that as well. So let's get rolling on that. So let's go ahead and set our beads. Alright guys, we got our tire onto our rim. Now we're going to go ahead and set the beads. To do this, I'm going to just use an air compressor. Another item that will come in handy again is our soap and water mixture. So I'm going to spray this all around. So you can see, you can kind of shimmy it around a little bit, but most of this area, the bead's kind of already in place, but it's this one side. You'll never get the whole thing without using some air pressure behind there. So over here where the bead's not set, that's where I'm going to apply most of my mixture. So that water and soap will kind of form a little bit of a seal long enough for the bead to pop in place. Otherwise all your compressed air will just shoot out. So let's lube this up again. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to press down over here while I put the first little bit of air, so hopefully this side will set first. And the last part of the bead to set will be over there. So that did work. You can see that this went up now, so hopefully I have a little better luck over here. So you can work it around. Now all this popped in because there's a little bit of pressure in there, so now the last part left is over there. I'm going to go ahead and get him real lubed up. And give her a go again. So I can see it starting to just creep a little bit. It's getting ready. So you heard the bead just pop. Now I'm letting air out quickly because there's probably some real high pressure in there at the moment. And I just want to make sure I let that pressure down. So you can see that time the bead wasn't setting when it was over here, plus it was right where my hand was at, and I wanted to kind of get it away from that. So I worked it around to where the last portion to set was over here. Lubed it up real good, and it was happy with that. Okay, so now the bead's set. I'm going to go ahead and wipe as much of this soap and water off around the edge. It'll all evaporate anyway, so it's not a problem. Just be aware that if you're going to go riding right now, I'd air it up and at least let it dry and start evaporating some of that water off just to make sure you got a good seal around the edge. But there you go, guys. Removal and installation, tire from a wheel using a zip tie method. No.
Go, go, go! I want to drink more beer until I